Good morning, Hope people. I wanted to give you a couple things before we entered into chapter 3 of Prodigal God. And one is that on Sunday, if you noticed, I didn't preach. Jermaine Armour preached from St. Luke AME Zion. And so there won't be a sermon to watch, but obviously you can be reading chapter 3 before you discuss chapter 3. But I thought I would just do a quick little video to give you a few thoughts as we start looking at chapter 3. One is this. Tim Keller is going to start talking about sin. And so for us, we love to talk about grace, but grace only really makes sense if we understand sin, and I think vice versa. So the definition that I've often used is just that word in Greek means to miss the mark. But what Keller is getting into is that we often have looked at the younger brother as the one who's missing the mark. But now we're going to start to kind of zero in on the fact that it's also the older brother that is missing the mark, and maybe in a way that's more divisive. So that's kind of this whole thing that Keller keeps kind of digging in on. The other thing is to realize in some of these discussion groups, and the one I'm in, is that people often will relate with the younger brother or the older brother, but some people in the group might relate to the father. Now, if you relate to the father, it doesn't mean that you have some messianic complex where you think you're God. It just means that you might know what it's like to try to extend grace towards someone and they don't want it. You might know what it's like to spend all night praying that someone might come home, or that someone else that you love might forgive someone. So to relate to the Father is okay. To feel like you don't fully fit in any of the three places, that's okay. If you're like me, I was kind of typecast as the younger brother, but as I've gotten older, I'm fully aware that there's this dangerous slip into the mindset of the older brother. So I can kind of see all three of them. And all of that's okay. But as we zero in on the older brother, I want to make a disclaimer. Some people get really kind of worked up when we really start digging into this story because of their own personal experience. So if someone came to me, which they have, and said, hey, I had a sibling who just was so crazy and so divisive. They took all of the attention of the family and kind of demanded all this energy from our family and from our parents. And I just got kind of neglected. I got overlooked. I think that's fair to say that. I think it's fair actually to feel that way. That happens so much in families. Like, I'm aware that at stages in my life, I demanded so much attention from my parents that I think my older brother probably didn't get as much attention. And so for my brother to feel like, this is difficult, I think that's fair for my brother to feel that way. But what I want to remind you about is spiritually, when you look at this story, you see a younger brother who understands what it means to receive the grace of Jesus. He comes home, and I think that Jesus is pointing to this idea that he was lost and now he's found. And so for the older brother, he doesn't want to celebrate, like spiritually, he doesn't want to celebrate that someone was lost and now found. And so the question is, does he even get the gospel? So the younger brother gives us a picture of the gospel, that not all of us will go off and live in pig slop, but I think it's true. We are lost, and then in Christ we are found and we find our salvation. And so it's a great picture of the gospel. The older brother is a picture, though, of what it means to be a Pharisee. And we have to be honest that the longer we're Christians, the more tempting it is to put on those Pharisee sandals and kind of see people like the younger brother as a nuisance or as less worthy. So don't forget, though, that the audience of this parable is a Pharisee. So Jesus is trying to say, I'm giving you a picture of what it means to live out the gospel and to understand the heart of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he also is giving them a picture of people who don't want to receive that, believe that, or live into that. Okay, that's all I have for today. 5 minutes of goodness. Be encouraged. I hope you're being encouraged by this. I think this study can help kind of engage and reignite our faith. And I also think this is a great book for people who are new in their faith and a great study. And who would have thought that you could do the same story 6 weeks in a row and keep digging and mining all kinds of great spiritual goodies? I'm enjoying it. I hope you are. I will see you soon, hopefully Sunday. Have a great week.